Register today for the Rainbow Push Coalition and Citizenship Education Fund's 46th Annual International Convention, Wednesday, July 12th through July 15th, 2017, at the Hilton and Towers in Chicago, Illinois. The theme this year is Heal and Rebuild. For further information, go to www.rainbowpush.org or call 773-373-3366. July 12th through July 15th, 2017, Chicago, Illinois.
And let me just say good evening to everyone one more time. Good evening. Good evening. It is so good to see all of you. My name is Pastor Joseph Bryant, and I am the National Sports Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition, also co-director of Push Tech 2020. Welcome to our Push Tech 2020 conference, which is a part of Tech Equity Week, and specifically welcome tonight to our Sports Tech 2020 showcase. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Now, let me say to you, for those of you who were here earlier, you heard me say that as an MC, I like to hear from the crowd. My work in sports, my work around the arenas and stadiums has me in a very unique place of listening to the response of the crowd. And so I know you just had some wonderful refreshments. They called them heavy hors d'oeuvres. They were delicious, but I do need you all to make some noise, just like we were at a stadium. Pretend you were at Oracle 1 hour and a half from now, and Draymond Green is in his usual mode, going up and down the court, and he's about to slam a ball into the stands, and then Steph Curry is going to take the inbound and go up for a layup. Make some noise. Much, much better. I appreciate it. And of course, tonight, friends, I'm always aware and conscientious of the fact that we are not here by accident. We are here by assignment and by the reality of the open door that has been brought to us, not only because of the kindness of this facility, but I always recognize the leader of our organization and really the leader of this movement, who's been a part of everything great that has changed in our world over the past 50 plus years. Can you all give it up for our leader for the Rainbow Push Coalition, our founder, and the one who is the voice of change, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Give it up for Reverend Jackson. And I'm unapologetically grateful to this brother who continues to open his doors here at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. We couldn't be in the room if it wasn't for the phenomenal leadership of this great leader, a part of the HP team, part of the HP leadership. But at the end of the day, he's just a good brother who's doing some great work, and he believes in what we're all about. Give it up for Mr. Brian Tippins, everybody. Shout out to all of you that are in the room that are part of so many different variations of our work. We'll recognize you in a little bit. But I want to get to the program so we can see some awesome work that is happening in the world of sports and technology. All around the industry, what you are finding is that technology is taking over. We have seen drones on the field, and we have seen the emergence of esports and all these wonderful things. And we brought some really heavy hitters in tonight to show us their wares and to talk a little bit about what's happening in that industry. So let me get out of the way and bring up our MC for the night, our master of ceremony, who I'm so grateful for. He's a phenomenal brother. He's a great man, great former NFL player who was a part of the Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers, none other than defensive end, and now great analysis, great announcer, great broadcasting, great speaker. He's a great dude. Give it up for my brother, Mr. Dennis Brown. You deserve all that. Great, dude. Great.
That's fantastic. I'm great. No, I don't think everyone's called me great since my grandmother. So I thank you so very much for that. First of all, welcome everyone to Sports Tech 2020. We appreciate you being here. As the pastor said, it is an honor to be here. I get the opportunity to do things like this quite a bit in the community, and I think this is very important because it's important for the diversity and also the technology that's going into sports, and I get to be part of it. I spend a lot of my time on the football field. Now I spend a lot of my time in front of the camera. I get to cover the San Francisco 49ers pregame, postgame shows, and weekly magazines during the week, during the football season. Outside of football season, my passion is caring for kids. I work for the 49ers Foundation, where we practice three very simple principles: keeping kids safe, on track, and in school. So I get to work in football, talk about football, and then work in the community and be around football every single day. So thank you for having me here. I'm just going to have an opportunity to kind of introduce some of these great presenters. They've got some great information, some great technology about their companies and kind of what they're doing. So with that, we're going to start the show here. Game changers in the room. Any game changers in the room? Anybody? 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 Okay, let's start it off. Our first presenter, Anquan McQueen, he is Vice President, Sports Business Development at Sports Tech Inc. Sports Tech Inc. is a world leader in design, development, and marketing and innovative performance and analysis for sporting organizations who have developed sporting code by Huddle, correct? Is it Huddle? Huddle, industry leader sports video platform for performance analysis. The platform is an avenue for young people to learn about career opportunities waiting for them at the intersection of sports and technology. This is going to teach these kids analytical thinking and give them the opportunity to develop the skills to go out and find a job in sports and technology. So put your hands together for Mr. McQueen.
Thank you. Is the mic on? Okay. So thank you for having me, Pastor Bryant, Reverend Jackson. I was purposely putting up the slide that I'm from Oakland because my company's headquartered in Lincoln, Nebraska, so I wanted to set the tone with that contrast. And they asked me to present from headquarters. I said, meaning here, so here I am. I know some of you guys are interested in following the Warriors. We got a game coming up in an hour and a half. If you guys can get through this 5-minute presentation, I'm going to tease you with some of the technology that is connected to the Warriors. So as Dennis mentioned, we're the industry leader for performance analysis in the sports world. We work with pretty much every sports team or organization within the field of sports. So that's basketball, football, lacrosse, soccer, you name it. Sports Code by Huddle is the video analysis solution for those sports teams. So here's some data, if you will, of how we're represented in the sports world, but particularly in the basketball market, and that's my background. So I'm a former student athlete here at Cal Berkeley. I played basketball in the mid-'90s. Some notable teammates outside of myself. Jason Kidd, Lamont Murray, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Tony Gonzalez, all super friends, and they've been specifically very helpful in fostering my development on the business sides of sports, making key introductions, and just really helping me set the stage to develop a business, promote a product, and to come full circle with that type of journey. I'm so passionate about the technology that I sell to sports teams that I've started a non-profit organization called Team, and I partner with this gentleman, Brandon Nicholson, sitting in the front row with the Hidden Genius project. And our main focus is to literally expose these kids to the technology that's available or the technology that's used by sports teams so they can have a tangible look or peek at what some career opportunities could look like for these kids. And so with this data, people always ask me, why is this important to have this data with respect to competition? And my answer always reverts back to pop culture. Oops, the slide skipped. Okay. All right, so now I'll just get right to the demonstration of the technology. And this was what I meant by we would kind of simulate the Warriors, if you will. So what's unique and specific about sports code as a technology is that, for the end user, this person is responsible for watching the game in real time. They have to identify, observational behavior. They have to be able to identify or understand what quantitative and qualitative analysis looks like in real time. And they have to validate these stats with video. So the idea would be this young person is with the Warriors. He is, meeting with the coaches before the game, getting the game plan, and trying to get this information on behalf of the team in real time. So when they come off the court at halftime, or we have technology where we can extend this technology to the bench, the coaches have information to make informed decisions about adjusting strategy, connecting players to different matchups, etc. So I'll give you a kind of a sneak preview of the technology and how it works. So if you look at this window here where I'm moving, this is what we would call a key performance indicator. It's pretty basic, but in a basketball sense, and this is not the Warriors playbook, so I want to be clear that I'm not giving away any secrets here. But for this KPI indicator, it's going to track, just basic categories: offensive possessions, who shot the ball, if it was a pick and roll, etc. And then I'll get into why that's important for exposing these kids to this type of technology. So we got the jump ball, and I'm gonna need some crowd participation to kind of tell me what's going on. So the Warriors have the ball. We're gonna mark offense.
Well, I think offensively,
hit P for a pass, another pass.
I
don't know what we want to call that, but we'll say O for offensive rebound, another pass, and he shoots it. 2 for a make. We're going to click off offense. I'll fast forward. The Warriors do play defense, but I'll get back to another offensive possession. That's got a rebound, got another offensive possession going. Clearly on this offensive possession, well, I thought he was going to shoot it. So that was let's say that was a pass as well in the possession. So if you look at just that basic tagging, someone like myself had to know what to look for in a particular game. And based on this tagging, I got a lot of information to share with my team in real time. I can see from a quantitative standpoint, we've had 2 offensive possessions that we've kind of tagged. I have additional information that we've had an offensive rebound, we've had 1 field goal made, and just with that data collection, I can simply click on any of these cells and it's going to render the video. So I click here, it's going to render the video of what I've tagged. Now, how this breaks down to potential connections to STEM or getting these kids excited about they could own this space and be really creative. If I look at some other analysis here, I was tracking every pass on every possession. And if you think about the Warriors, one of Coach Kerr's core philosophy is that they want to score, but they have to share the basketball. So the connection would be, if they're going to score and share the basketball, a KPI for them would be tracking passes per possession. And so where the kids would be creative in helping Coach Kerr, develop this strategy is, I'll go on the back end of this. Go. So just to track the passes per possession, we have proprietary software. You have to write code for it. And so the kids get the basic, training of how to write code, how to assign variables to certain, how to create variables to assign it to a certain task. And so working with Brandon, again, with the Hidden Genius, we identify young kids that are motivated, interested in doing this. We put them through a 6-week workshop. And at the end of the workshop, which is a win for the kids, is that because we work with all these sports teams in this industry, we have a direct pipeline to create internship opportunities and career opportunities. So a lot of kids have come through the program so far, now work for teams like the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, and they work for local colleges as well. Thank you.
Can you just leave that up there?
Absolutely.
Register today for the Rainbow Push Coalition and Citizenship Education Fund's 46th Annual International Convention, Wednesday, July 12th through July 15th, 2017, at the Hilton and Towers in Chicago, Illinois. The theme this year is Heal and Rebuild. For further information, go to www.rainbowpush.org or call 773-373-3366. July 12th through July 15th, 2017, Chicago, Illinois.
Just speaking from, I didn't play basketball, I played football, but on the sidelines, we would have, back when I played in the 90s, before any of you guys were even born, but in the 90s, we had a Polaroid picture, and we had 2 shots. We had a shot of the beginning of the play and the end of the play. And they had a young man that would run at Candlestick, run down from Candlestick from the press box, because the pitcher was up top. He would run down to the field and have the pictures for us in our hand as the defense came and sat on the bench. And we looked through the pictures. Now they have these surface pads. and they're very similar to this, where a player can actually look at a play from start to beginning. And that's the technology now. I mean, this is just the 90s, and this is, 2000, last season, 2016. So the technology is gone, and it's important. That same young man, I hope, who ran down those films, has learned how to use the technology, so now he can go with the system. So that's fantastic stuff. I love it. I love it. Okay, our next two presenters were here last year, and I'm sure we all are excited about kind of what they've been doing the last 12 months and the progression they've made. The first young lady, I did some research, and if I'm right, are you still doing the exercise, right?
We do some exercise. We do a lot of things.
Okay, but the exercise is what got me.
Exactly.
Because I need some exercise. But it's kind of a neat thing that she's doing. She's kind of bringing in, one of her ventures are kind of bringing in the opportunity to, for traveling people or for folks who are on the road a lot, to actually work out with a professional athlete. And you do it virtually, you can get on your computer, all these different things that you can do. So it's giving you an opportunity to take advantage of the technology that's going to improve yourself. So with no longer ado, Sarah, I'm not going to attempt your last name. I think I messed it up even telling you, but it's Kunst. Sarah Kunst. Nice shoes, by the way.
Thank you. Do you want me to do this? Okay. I have the clicker. There's some sort of laptop thing going on. Okay. What would you like me to do with the clicker? Okay, cool. So I'm Sarah Kunst, founder and CEO of ProDay. And I was here last year, and like we were talking about, I started out with a company that was really focused on, hey, all these athletes are doing these amazing workouts. How do the rest of us work out? Because the rest of us sit in our cars all day, we sit in offices all day, and we don't get paid to be in shape. And so we started there, and we launched the ProDay fitness app, where you can work out alongside professional athletes. And then I would talk to users, and they would constantly tell me, this is awesome, I love it, but I want to know even more about the athlete. I'm not content just knowing like everything I see on the court, on ESPN, everything that I'm seeing in their app, in your app about their fitness. I want to know about their nutrition, about their families, about their cars and vacations and their charities. I want to know more about these athletes. And so we listened to that, and what we've done, what we've expanded into, is something that's both so obvious and so unique that it is kind of changing the way that we look at athletes and changing the sports media world. So we don't stick to sports. If you spend time listening to athletes give their opinions on world issues, the first thing you hear from a fan, usually a drunk white dude in Ohio, is stick to sports, right? You don't know anything else, you're just a jock. And we all know that's not true. And we don't stick to sports at ProDay. So what we've done is we've expanded far beyond just fitness, far beyond what happens on the field, and we cover athletes' lives in their diet, their nutrition, their workout still, their style, what they're wearing. We cover their relationships, which if you're Carmelo Anthony, really, really, really awkward time right now. And we also, but if you're Serena Williams, it's great and it's awesome, right? So it depends. And we also cover the culture, so where they're traveling, the charities they're working with, and then their politics. And that's been particularly fascinating this year because we have a politician in the White House who would really like the rest of the country to be only white as well. And so to see these athletes kind of rise up in a way that's been relatively unprecedented since really, when the Reverend was working with, people like Muhammad Ali has been really, really, really exciting. But if you're Colin Kaepernick, what do you have to show for it? And that's, to be unsigned. And if you go into his Instagram mentions now, even a year almost after he was kneeling for the national anthem, everybody still just sits around calling him the N-word all day long on Instagram. And you're like, guys, get over it. It's America. We can protest peacefully here. So we cover that stuff. Sports media is a massive industry, which is one reason that we got more into it. It's an $18 billion industry. This may not shock you if you watch ESPN or Fox Sports, but 90% of sports writers are white, 90% of sports writers are male. So Skip Bayless is basically the representative of all athletes and everything in the sporting world, and that guy is atrocious. No offense, Skip. So what we do is we have the world's most diverse sports media site. Not only are we telling athlete stories and we're talking about everything from their political leanings to their style, but we're also going in, and the people telling these stories are everyone from a Muslim immigrant woman who lives in Toronto to multiple Black and brown people who are all over the country. Most of them are much younger. We have far more women than any other sports media site, both as readers and as writers. And it's resonating. We're seeing that when you go to our social media, when you go to our website and you read our content, people like it because, for example, when Draymond Green had a baby, ESPN said Draymond Green questionable for 3-game road trip. We had baby pictures of him and his babies. And turns out people actually want to see Draymond Green Jr., not just hear that Draymond Green somehow is irresponsibly skipping a game to hang out with his kids. And fans love it. We're diverse. We've also gotten a lot of love from other media properties. So every 3 weeks, if you listen to NPR or KQED is the local affiliate, you can hear me talking on Marketplace Tech about sports and technology in Pro Day, and we do those things on a recurring basis. We have a lot of interesting distribution partnerships. We still have our app. And we're going to see some exciting changes to our app this summer where we'll expand more into content. But right now you can still fire it up and see former 49er and current Tennessee Titan Delaney Walker and do some workouts there. You can also see all of our content on our mobile site and on our social media channels. And so you can follow us and get sports news that's not about how many seconds when LeBron is on the court are the Warriors up if Steph Curry has an ankle that doesn't feel bad, because that stat is completely meaningless to everybody except like 5 white dudes on ESPN. So right now we're raising money, and we're going to use that money to grow the company, to hire more people, to do more partnerships, and to launch the second version of our app that goes deeper into health and fitness, particularly around nutrition. One of the most interesting things that I've learned from talking to these athletes is you'd think if I worked out 5 hours a day, I could eat anything I want. Turns out that's not true. Most of them don't eat alcohol or sugar or carbs, and I don't know if it's worth it, but that's what they do. And so we're gonna give people the tools to do that themselves while giving them real tips from real athletes. The other sites, like I said, even ESPN, 12% of their coverage is women's sports, which if you break that down between Olympics and the Williams sisters, that's literally the only women's coverage they get. Other sites, even like Sports Illustrated, does some really interesting profiles on athletes. Then you scroll to the bottom of the page and there is a slideshow, usually multiple slideshows that are like the top 10 girls of the Big Ten in bikinis. And as a woman, you're like, I don't know if they're looking for me as a customer. And so what we've been able to do is tell these stories, both men's and women's sports coverage, in a way that is welcoming to everybody and doesn't make women feel like, oh no, if my kid walks in and sees this, they're gonna think mommy's looking at porn again. So yeah, that's Pro Day. Check us out online. And I've been so excited to share with you guys last year where we were and this year where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. That's impressive. I mean, I wasn't the athlete that anyone would want to model as far as working out, but in the brief research that I did, it's pretty neat. I know Delaney, and I know his workout habits, and I could just imagine sitting in a hotel room and then clicking on and seeing a world-class Pro Bowler and the way he kind of works out and kind of what he does. I think that's impressive. And again, that's the technology that's there to be had. So thank you, Sarah, for that very much. Our next presenter, David Ortiz. He's on a different level. I don't know if you guys are hip to the whole virtual reality thing. I mean, if it was virtual reality, I would still be playing football. But this is not. I do the I guess it's called the first person shooting type of thing, and it's intense. And you can do it on your phone. You can sit like me in your house and do it in front of your computer, but it's intense. And I've never really understood the technology behind it. I just kind of enjoyed it. So it's going to be great to hear what David kind of has to say and kind of how this intersects with sports. So, David Ortiz.
How you guys doing? So I was here last year. I had a chance to show what we're doing with my company, Immortal Sports Inc. I've been in the game space for about 23 years now, and I've had a chance to work a lot with sports. I was actually the first game designer at Microsoft, and I did a product called NFL Fever, and it was the last game to outsell Madden NFL, which prompted EA to recruit me a lot, and then I ran product development for Madden NFL for quite a few years at EA. So I've been fortunate enough to really make a living off of sports without having to get beat up since college. So I've had a good time with it. Before I go on, I'm really impressed with what Sarah's up to. It's fun to see the progress of her as an entrepreneur from where she was at last year to this year, and her sense of opinion is always entertaining. Really impressed. Yeah, really impressed. But so my company, as Dennis mentioned, we've been working on taking virtual reality and combining it with esports in a way to make it as immersive as possible. And we do this across a variety of gaming experiences. And our goal is to deliver the most compelling AAA experiences possible. And the reason why we're doing this is, and I also, I happen to coach youth football as well, and I played ball in college. And the sport is changing. I let my own kids out there and play, and so I feel like they're going to be safe. But there's risk, of course, and a lot of parents and people are reacting differently to how things go forward. It's only a matter of time before we have as many people competing in all types of events virtually as they do in physical space or meat space, as we call it. And so, the goal for what I'm doing and what we're up to is about a couple of things. One, me as an entrepreneur and, a diverse person, I'm out here because I want to make sure at any time Reverend Jackson or Pastor Brian ask me to come. This is the third conference I've done with them. I come because I appreciate everything that they've done and have had a lot of conversations on behalf of our community, so I don't have to have them, right? So it's easier for me to just show up and try to do my job and then deal with a different set of challenges in politics. So I show up every time, and I'll continue to do so if they need me. That being said, when I look at the sports space and it's growing, these numbers here don't show that esports is going to become something that people are doing and people are participating in. It's already happened. These numbers here are from 2014. And in 2014, there were already 32 million people watching an esports tournament called League of Legends. 32 million people watched this single championship event, right? If you compare that to the same year, how many people watched the football national championship, it was only 26 million people. If you look at the NBA Finals Game 7, it was only 26 million people, 0.3, and, NCAA basketball is 15.7 million people. More people are already watching esports than are watching traditional sports, with the exception of the NFL, of course. The NFL is a juggernaut, and then over in Europe, FIFA and Premier League. So it's already there. So when I look at this and I think about it, I think the difference between esport and traditional sport right now is that there is no sense of consequence. So a lot of people aren't aware of it because you have no reason to watch it. Unless you play a specific game, you really don't care who won the Call of Duty championship or the Counter-Strike. That doesn't mean anything to me. And the reason why it doesn't mean anything to most people is there's no sense of consequence. When we watch, Floyd Mayweather, as polarizing as a figure as he can be, you can't deny the guys have gone 20 years as a champion. He hasn't lost a fight, and he puts his neck on the line every time he goes out there. He can literally, have somebody put him in a coma, and he's succeeded for 20 years doing that. Tom Brady, it's impressive that he's won 5 Super Bowls, not because he's a skilled quarterback, but because of the fact that we know guys get older. We got a guy up the street who's a friend of mine. He won 4 Super Bowls. Am I right? Joe won 4? Yeah? Joe won 4. Joe, I'm not by himself, but as a team, you guys won 4. I looked at the wrong guy who would take a little bit of fancy. Yeah, Joe did it. Yeah. So Joe, as a starting quarterback, was a part of a team that won 4 Super Bowls, okay? There you go. I don't want to get rushed by the defensive end here. And then, Jordan to 5 NBA championships. Now there's the comparison with LeBron. All these things happen because, these comparisons are interesting to people, because there's a sense of time and people are getting older and, people get injured and all these different things. So if we play basketball, rec league, college, high school, whatever, or football, we understand what they're accomplishing. It makes sense to us because we can relate. And we know that there's consequence. Well, esport doesn't have that sense of consequence. So everything we're building is about creating a virtual athlete that can be taken into competition, and that can actually deteriorate. and that athlete can actually get damaged, and then you can build that athlete back up. But ultimately, that athlete's career is going to be limited. And that suddenly now gives us the ability, with what we do at Immortal, is we build that avatar, we build that platform, we build that experience, and then we take that character into different games. It brings a sense of relevance that otherwise doesn't exist inside of esports today, because it gives us a must-watch scenario. If you, all the way back to Gladiator times, and normally when I have more time, I show this video that starts from Gladiator times all the way through current sports and esports, it gives us a reason to lean forward, because is there going to be an outcome? Is there going to be a sense of finality? And we need to bring that into esports in order for it to take that next jump, even though it's got an audience, to make it must-watch programming. So, we look at a couple more examples of things that happen to people overall that just don't happen in esports right now. Tiger Woods, age, and he's also derailed by other things. Ronda Rousey, she was extremely relevant until she got knocked out twice, and now it's she's not going to be that person anymore. And Ronda, if you're watching, please don't kick my ass. And then Peyton Manning, he was setting up all kinds of records, but he won I think 2 championships. So and then we just continue to do these comparisons, and this is a big part of what sports is, and this is a part of and I don't want to speak for Sarah, but a part of what the conversation is around is the comparison in sports. And so with esports having this massive, massive following, there still needs to be a sense of comparison, and that doesn't happen yet. And so for that sport to take that next jump, that needs to happen, and we want to own that. We will own that. So that's what we're doing with Immortal Sports. We're building out the technology that allows us to basically take this avatar, take your character you create and customize, and then take that character through different steps, from the process of the creation and the customization, through the deterioration, and then when you take the character into battle, to fixing the player, to ultimately having the best career you possibly can, and then finally this character's win-loss record when they're completely eliminated. And so one last thing I'll show you guys, and I'll show you guys a quick video of our tech. If you look at the pace, that this is just one esports product. It's called League of Legends. It's a really popular game right now. If you look at its pace of growth compared to American football, in pro football, it's growing 12 times as fast, right? I mean, it is absolutely moving. And so this isn't something that's going to happen. This is already here. It's a matter of, for us, how do we monetize it, how do we take advantage, and particularly for our community, when we talk about Black community, we spend disproportionately on video games. And I could count, if I took off my shoes, I could count all the brothers that I know in the last 23 years that I've worked with, in this industry, that have had meaningful roles in the space. And so, a big part of what we do, I have a co-founder who's also Black female, a really smart lady named Tiffany Norwood, and we try to lead by example, by giving opportunities, giving jobs, going to schools, traveling, talking at things like this, wherever we can, have an opportunity to impact and interact and show people, most importantly, it's possible. Second of all, if you're participating and spending all this money in the game space, by the way, you can actually work on games and have an opportunity to create this content. I fell into this industry by accident, and it's been one of the most fortunate things to ever happen to me. Really quickly though, and it's kind of perfect setup, and I didn't tell Dennis anything about this, I'll show you guys one of the first games we're building right now, which is called Paradox Rift. So I'm going to switch over to our website here. And from where we were last year, we raised some good capital. We just had a meeting with a prominent investor here in the Bay Area today who committed as well to jumping in our round. So we're excited about that, and we'll have an announcement there soon. And we've just been building. We're about 75% done with our first game, and we are about 30% done with our platform. And we have some pretty substantial things. And not to sound cocky, because I'm not, but given my track record where we are right now, I'm more excited about this than anything I've built in the past before. And this will be my third startup. I successfully exited my last one in the daily fantasy space. And so we're in a good spot. We are raising additional capital. We're in the middle of a $5 million round right now, and we're building. So really quickly, I will show you. So this is a virtual reality shooter that we're working on right now called Paradox Rift. Let me pull it up here, if this is cooperating with me. Our website. Here we go. And so this is a shooter. So you get excited. You basically go take your character in here. This is all in virtual reality. So while the video, you'll be able to see this stuff. Our level of quality of what we're doing compared to others is, we think, pretty special. So this is working with me here. Let me go big screen. Turn it down a little bit. Jump ahead some here for the sake of time. before I get the wrap it up button. Murphy's Law demos.
We believe you.
Believe me? All right. That means I'm getting the tap. Damn, Dennis. All right. I'll jump in. Real quick action.
Very good. Very
All right.
good.
All right. There we go. There we go.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, just go to the center. There we go.
There we go.
We'll
There it
leave
is.
it running in the back.
There we go. Now it's gonna go.
What's that?
This is what I do all night long, and it's interesting because I have a 10-year-old grandson, and he plays this NBA 2K17 or something like that, and he's got this deal where you build your own avatar, and you do a career.
Yep.
And he sits and he plays his career, and now he's in the NBA. And it starts like junior high school.
Yeah.
So you basically raise this avatar.
Yeah.
Correct?
We so when I was at Microsoft, we did this product. I said Info Fever, right? We did the first player progression ever in a sports game.
Right.
We should have patented them. We didn't, and now every product, including the one you're talking about,
Yeah.
does that.
So you
I'm not in the business of giving away patents anymore.
I mean, you build your avatar. It's called, right? Avatar.
Yeah, you got it.
And then it just grows up. And now he's in the NBA. He went through a draft. He went through high school playoffs and all that stuff.
Yep.
And he's into it. And he also plays on a league too. But
Yep.
he loves this little avatar thing. And he has the thing where he can see it with the glasses and everything. So it's pretty fantastic. I mean, this is the technology.
Register today for the Rainbow Push Coalition and Citizenship Education Fund's 46th Annual International Convention, Wednesday, July 12th through July 15th, 2017, at the Hilton and Towers in Chicago, Illinois. The theme this year is Heal and Rebuild. For further information, go to www.rainbowpush.org or call 773-373-3366. July 12th through July 15th, 2017, Chicago, Illinois.
I just wanted to say, when you were asking about youth and also with what
Yes.
you were talking about with transition, there's such an important component in terms of intention. We
Yes.
as people of faith and tradition understand that when we allow others to define who we are or our God-given purpose, it keeps us off track.
That's right.
And one of the many things that's important in collaboration right now is having an understanding of that and communicating that to our youth so they think about being, like you were talking about, Sarah, behind the scenes. As a producer as well as a host, people would say, well, I just want to be on camera. But if you learn how to do more
Right.
and can control content,
Right.
it's so critical. Dennis, you're talking about social media and the messages. And that's the thing, deciding how you want to be known and at the same time being true to
Right.
yourself is
Right.
an important component of that. So as we're trying to figure it out, and there are people who were here who are struggling with the very same things because they're seeing themselves being locked out
Right.
of access
Sure.
because of age or not knowing technology, it still becomes important for us to work together to educate each other and to remind ourselves that we are far more capable than many will see us as being. When I was going for one interview, they said, well, if you took the fact that you interviewed Oprah off your resume, maybe we'd be interested in hiring you. But the very fact that I interviewed Oprah was one of the reasons that I was looking for some
Right.
opportunities to share. So,
Beautiful.
with that, Reverend Jackson.
How's everybody?
Hello, Reverend.
You know, each of us bring different angles to this. One of my concerns is the athlete as political, social transformer, in contrast to the dumb jock notion. After 246 years of slavery, the Jim Crow was more violent than slavery. Because at least in slavery, they needed to whip you every now and then to instill fear. They want you around to make more little slaves and to pick cotton. Between 1880 and 1940, 5,000 blacks were lynched without an indictment. When the whites could tell the black on the other side of the sidewalk, when black soldiers had to sit behind Nazi POWs during that season, Jack Johnson knocking a white man out and beating him caused race riots. Jack Johnson's story has not been told by us. As the idea that, because that was the time we were considered to be inferior.
Right.
So it wasn't this matter, could we win, where we're inferior or superior. And when he beat Willard, he proved superiority. That was kind of the whole culture, athletes. The second piece of that same lineage, I talked with Jesse Owens one time. I always heard about when Jesse Owens got up to, as he ran the 100-yard dash and won, Hitler turned his back on him and walked away. And they say Hitler's a racist because he would not shake Jesse Owens' hand. So this is how you feel about it. He said, well, I came home and Roosevelt wouldn't either. We don't get that side of it. Roosevelt, he never got invited to the White House either. Tell that part of the story too. What's amazing about Jackie's coming into baseball in '47 was when he was in the military, before Rosa Parks sat down in '55.
That's right.
Jackie sat down, would not go to the back of the military bus and was faced court-martial. Jackie was a fighter before he was a baseball fighter. Jackie refused to go to the back of the bus on the military base. That's a piece of the athlete assuming a certain responsibility.
That's right.
When Joe Louis beat Max Miller, what makes him, in some sense, quote unquote, greater than Ali, is the politics of the moment, not just the athlete per se. The time when the Germans was exporting race supremacy. And Smelling beat Joe Louis. When he beat him in a minute and 10 seconds or some of that fight, all of white America had to embrace Joe Louis because he carried our collective ego on his back. He said, can't no American beat Max Miller. No white senator, governor, no one could face Miller but the degraded black man. Joe Louis beat Max Miller and took on a whole global dimension of blackness far beyond just another fight. Y'all with me so far?
Yes, sir.
This is the Samson David lineage of athletes as transformer in society. When Jackie got on the bait 47, he didn't break into Major League Baseball. That's not true. He broke into White Baseball League. There wasn't no Major League. There was a White League, there was a Black League, a Latin American League, and there was a Japanese League. They called it major because they drew major crowds because they had major money to go to the ball game. No black athlete came up and did apprenticeship. Jack Robinson, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, they didn't come and do apprenticeship. They came in as major. They were major, just didn't have major fans, didn't have major money to pay to see them play every day. Cepeda didn't come in as an apprentice. The Japanese didn't come in. Y'all get my point? Yeah. So you're telling the wholeness of the politics of our story gives us another dimension. Let me ask this last. How many of you know, if I told you, don't, how Ali got back in the ring? How Ali got back in the ring? No. How did he get back in? And why was it Georgia? When Ali refused to go to the war, and they took his license in Illinois, the final vote cast was a black man named Joe Robichaux. He couldn't get the license in place in the country. Couldn't get it in Las Vegas, California, no place. He tried 55 cities, and finally, a black man from Morehouse named Leroy Johnson. Leroy Johnson was the only black elected official in the whole South, a state senator from Georgia. He's still alive, by the way. You got to get him while you can get him. Leroy, an Ali fan, 2 weeks before it happened, Governor Maddox, the axe handle man, son got in some trouble. And he should have gone to jail, but this gave him a quote-unquote second chance. That was Leroy's open. So Leroy went to government and said, Maddox, I got a guy who needs to work, and he needs a second chance. His name is Ali. Somebody said, I don't care, do it. And when he said he could fight again, the white right-wingers ate Maddox alive. So Maddox backed off. He got Governor Sanders to try the case. Since Georgia had no commission rule for or against, there was no legal reason he could not fight. And so the mayor tried to back up, and he would not let him, they helped to get him elected. So the politics of this thing. So Ali ends up, they say, well, you can't fight because you have to show that you're physically able. He was going to fight Frazier, and they told Frazier he couldn't do it. So he called the president of Morehouse, and Dr. Gloucester that he can do a training fight. He did a training fight at Morehouse because he could not train in any of the white gyms. You with me so far? When he got through with his maneuvering, he was able to convince Georgia, of all places, to grant Ali the right to get back in there. This was before Don King, before any of that was a single black guy who was alive who came to Morehouse 1 year after Dr. King, named Leroy Johnson. He's still alive. Get him while you can. His story is eloquent, it's to the point. But the whole idea of Ali getting back in the ring was a political decision by, I was in the dressing room with him that night and had prayer. We came into the ring together. I know exactly the whole details of what happened to get Ali. And it was Leroy Johnson, a single black politician who stood forth. And it was the only state that didn't have a boxing commission law. And he exploited the law and got him back in the ring. Part of Ali's story. And at the funeral, almost all the speakers except the Reverend Carter were white. You would think that's not who got him back in the ring. Leroy Johnson got him back in the ring. You get my point? Now, we honor Jack Robinson. I honor Jack Robinson. Preached his funeral. What went down to Kurt Flood? The transformer in all of athletics was not Jackie. Jackie broke into white baseball and took the game from 13 to 32 teams. The reason why guys get paid is because of Kurt Flood. He sacrificed his whole career. So not every athlete in the world, whether you're a soccer player in Brazil or Germany playing Chelsea in Britain, all the athletes would now fight Frazier. All that came from Kurt Flood, they will not glorify Kurt Flood. He sacrificed his, that's why you can't compare him with anybody, because he didn't just do a protest, take his hat off, or well, who or something. He sacrificed, he was an all-star his whole career. He never played again. He said he invoked he invoked the slave clause. You don't have the right to sell me. He invoked the slave clause, the liberation from slavery clause. That's it. All I'm saying, these are, and there, my last one, I guess, the reason why we got the statue for Ernie Banks at Cubs Field. We were in the customer relations area, and they had a picture of Ernie Banks, the only thing, and he missed the Cub and all that. And they were honoring Ron Santo. And he had a picture commissioned by a couple of writers, painters out in the suburbs, to give him a picture. And so they said, Ernie, you can't give him the picture because we don't have any more time left. Ernie felt so embarrassed and hurt, he cried. But Cross Street got a McDonald's hamburger. So we went to the next Tribune shareholders meeting. The man Ernie Banks got the statue. They couldn't even say no. That's where that statue came from. They were not going to give Bob Love his banner in the United Center. On the same. Point is, we've been in this for, and I think the biggest thing we're into now, which I want you to figure out, athletes with all the DOM label graduate at a greater rate than the rest of the student body, by the way.
Right.
In part because it's a 5-year scholarship for a minute. But other than is March Madness and May Sadness. Full of blacks on the ball court in March, but not much of graduation in May. Talk to me, somebody. But increasingly, Brandon, because of the fight for we fought for the 5-year scholarship, and even the Rooney Rule was the Rainbow Rule.
That's right.
We picketed the All-Star game about blacks beyond the couldn't get contracts. And to avoid the protest, Rooney recommended in the meeting that they could not have another coach unless they consider having a black considered. That's our rule. Rooney didn't think that up. He was an old-ass man before he figured it out. I'm saying that all this transformative political change, inspiration. When Joe Louis would fight, we would sit out in the backyard with blankets, fanning away mosquitoes and stuff, listen to Joe Louis fight on the radio. That was a huge deal. And had to go to work next and couldn't even admit we were happy. We were out in front of Mr. Humphrey's store, and cross street was a black church, had a roof. They sat on the black church steps where the roof was. It was raining. We had to sit in front of the store, which didn't have a roof. I mean, they extended the roof. And when Joe Louis was fighting Billy Coyne, 12th round, Billy Coyne's winning, and somebody's us down. We were so upset. And Billy's still champion. Everybody walked around and said, damn, oh, lucky Joe Louis. We were too oppressed to even rejoice. Blacks who went to work the next day could get fired for acting like they were happy because Joe Louis won. That's the quality between him and all these seasons. If y'all get what I'm trying to say, the politics of the athlete as blessed by God to have a burden bigger than just styling and wearing clothes is a huge lineage of struggle. And so when I see guys now have $500,000 Super Bowl parties, some it's vulgar because it completely misses what God enabled. You can't decide to run 9.2. You can't decide the vertical leap 4 feet. All those are gifts of God. That's why athletes were seen as sacred among, when David beat Goliath, the reason why he beat him so bad, that if you just analyze it, Goliath had so much weight on him until he had to have people to help him carry his armament. David was a rock thrower. They could kill bears and lions at 200 feet. He didn't want nothing to hold him. All he wanted was a 200 feet from it. He could throw a rock through the lid of a. Y'all get my point? Yes, sir. I mean, the athlete has played this huge role, and unless, and it has, by the way, it has a white audience too. It may be by blacks, it might excite us, but also the white people like it too. And the reason why we're so good at athletics, the reason why we're so dominant, say whenever the playing field is even, and the rules are public, and the goals are fair, and the rules are clear, we can win. So whenever the playing field is even, and the rules are public, the goals are clear, the referees are fair, and the score is transparent, we can win. So on the playing field, if the blacks had to run 12 yards for the first time because they came from a broken home, and white folks had to run 7 yards because they inherited yards, that wouldn't work out either. But so long as 7 yards for all touchdowns, 10 yards for all first downs, and 6 points for all touchdowns, you got Joe Montana winning all them games.
I helped them. Thank you.
So, Reverend, you helped us with some historical context, though, because I think what is happening with technology, we also have that same responsibility because the voices that you heard sharing here.
Well, at our convention, July 12th through the 15th, on the Thursday night is the athletic night. I'm concerned that as we keep evolving how it should look, I'm very concerned that night that we do this kind of panel session.
Yes, sir.
Not just honoring we're going to honor some kids who've done well. Like Stanford graduates 100% of its athletes, like 100% football players.
That's right.
Clemson graduated like 128 out of 132. Berkeley like 33%. That story too. What's all that about? You get my point, guys? So we kind of need to put the technology to this because so our kids can get the story. The story of athletes in struggle. Before we could be a politician, when Dr. King was trying to talk about the Vietnam War and people booing him, when Marvin Gaye did what's going on, they were cheering him. So the athlete and the entertainer has been transformative, not just entertainment forces. And they see themselves as entertainers.
That's right.
They act like entertainers.
You're right.
But really, they are transformers.
That's right.
Whatever the Warriors do now, Al Allen did it first. Tell that. Now run and tell that.
Register today for the Rainbow Push Coalition and Citizenship Education Fund's 46th Annual International Convention, Wednesday, July 12th through July 15th, 2017, at the Hilton and Towers in Chicago, Illinois. The theme this year is Heal and Rebuild. For further information, go to www.rainbowpush.org. or call 773-373-3366. July 12th through July 15th, 2017, Chicago, Illinois. Exciting news! The free Rainbow Push mobile app is ready for download. Get all the news and schedules for the upcoming convention and more. Go to the Rainbow Push homepage at www.rainbowpush.org to download app today. Noticias importantes. La aplicación móvil y gratis de Rainbow Push está lista para utilizar. Obtengan todas las noticias y horarios para la próxima convención y mucho más. Visiten la página de inicio de Rainbow Push en www.rainbowpush.org para descargar la aplicación hoy.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of two words: social justice.
Education advocacy.
Political empowerment.
Freedom and equality.
Global humanitarian.
Evolutionary, revolutionary.
Political change.
Inclusion, evolution. Push Excel.
Progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Enough divisiveness.
Equality and perseverance.
People united.
Push yes.
It was Jesse Jackson who was the young man of the movement and now is an elder statesman. And we've got to make sure that we have another generation that will be pushing forward, another generation that will be building an Operation Breadbasket, another generation that will be talking about new economic strategies for those who are poor.
And ensuring that we are never politically disenfranchised. I hope you already recognize that there is a movement afoot to rob us of what we fought so hard for and shed blood for, and that is the right to express our voice through voting.
It is our duty, it is our job to support our organizations.
We got to do it. Grassroots organization, hitting the streets and challenging those in the suites.
Make sure you join Operation Push, Rainbow Push, today.
Keep hope alive.